it's kind of weird because I grew up in the, Baltimore, area. It's predominantly African American.
Yeah.
And then you hear stories of like, say, you'll hear like, Martin Luther King and stuff. And then everyone's like, yeah, stop being racist. But then like some of the brothers are being racist to you. And you're like, yo, didn't you just say stop being racist?
There was a lot of, stop Asian hate, Asian this, Asian that. And it was just, everything was so negative,
Yeah.
especially about the Asian community in this area. And I just felt like, you know what? Why not have something positive come out of this, right? And they said, you know what? Why just the parking lot? And I said, why not? I was like, what? Why? And then they said, why not make it a city thing? You should pitch this to the mayor, and you should pitch this to the entire city.
Why, hello there, food lovers, and welcome to The Hungry Immigrant. I'm your host, Abang Brian, a chef, food researcher, reality TV star, and a guy who believes that every dish tells a story. This is where we uncover the stories behind the flavors, the people shaping our culinary world, and the dishes that bring us all together. From hidden street stalls to Michelin-starred kitchens, we dive into taste, traditions, and untold stories of food across borders. So grab a seat, bring your appetite, and let's feast on culture, one bite at a time. What do tattoos, barbershops, and Vietnamese kaya have to do with one of Virginia's biggest Asian festivals? In this episode of The Hungry Immigrant, I dropped by the Standard Barbershop in Old Town Fairfax. Yup, we recorded in a barbershop to chat with Tommy and Wendy, a couple who went from IT and real estate to building not just a business, but a full-blown cultural movement. We talk bad hair days, growing up between cultures, turmeric leaf struggles in America, and how a random idea during lockdown turned into Asian Festival on Main, now drawing over 25,000 people on a yearly basis. From late night ideas to citywide celebrations, this episode is proof that Asian pride isn't just about food, it's about showing up, standing tall, and creating spaces where everyone belongs. So let's dig in. This is one of my first few times in Old Town. It's like really, really cute, very heritage driven, and like the way they preserve the building is very like old colonial style. If you are watching this on Spotify on YouTube, I would advise you to stop your car and really look at how beautiful this place is, because it's really a treat for the senses. This is the first time we're doing this in a barbershop, and the reason why we're doing it in a barbershop this time is that my mission with The Hungry Immigrant is to capture all the stories of Asian immigrants. And it is not just about the kitchen, it's not just about the food, it's not just about chefs or food historians or food researchers per se. I believe that everyone, especially if you're Asian, you do connect to food, or like, food is always a medium to talk about so many other things, right? So thank you very much to Tommy and Wendy, who are the owners of the Standard Barbershop in Old Town Fairfax.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this podcast. Okay, so for the world who does not know who is Tommy and Wendy, who is Tommy and Wendy?
I don't know. I mean, we don't really think of ourselves as anything different than just your average Asian American couple that just trying to make a good living. Take the opportunities that our parents, instilled in us when we were young, which was, make your own money, have a good life, eat well, be healthy, and pay it forward in some way. That's kind of our life philosophy, I would say, right?
Yeah.
I know people think it's like so glamorous to be like in a cool barbershop and everything, but at the end of the day, it's still work. And it's very hard work, right?
It's hard, but it's fun, because
Yeah.
you get to be yourself, and I don't have to answer to anyone, So in a way it's work because I'm physically working, but I get to be myself. And I think that's the best thing where, when I was working, say like for corporate America, I felt like I was acting. So here I really let loose. Like we talk about everything, just have fun, make fun of each other,
You
have
get to
banter.
be your own boss at the end of the day. And that is like very important to have.
What you said really does shine true for me, for you guys. As soon as you say that, you are so happy being the person that you are, and you can be who you are, right? And I think the shop mirrors that. The tattoos on both of their arms reflect that. And the joy that emanates from you speaking, not just even on the podcast, but when I talk to you for the first time, Right? I think it was a wave of hand by Tommy. He was eating at the corner there, I think. And I was
I
like,
know.
it's like when people are their truest self, there's that aura that you're like, I get that person.
Because you're authentic to who
Correct.
you are,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So you're not putting on a show. And I think a lot of like the people that walk through the door, they work at various different types of jobs, and they have certain, maintenance or certain personalities that they have to maintain in terms of their professional work. And then when they come through the door, it's like a place for them to just be who they are without judgment. So in this area, you have a lot of big corporations, military, government, all this stuff. And then you come through our shop and it's like you can drop F bombs, you can be you can be crass with your humor, you can be witty, you can be anything you want, and nobody here cares. I mean, a lot of people, they want to feel like they're in control all the time, right?
Yeah.
So coming here and then just giving that control over to someone else and allowing them to dictate what you're going to end up looking like for the rest of like the next several weeks. For a lot of people, that's scary. But at the same time, I think, our shop has been here long enough that we've proven to be good at what we do,
Yeah.
right? So people have a certain, ease of, the control part when they walk through the door.
And I think beyond just experts, they see you as friends, as family already. Because like when I walked in here the first time and I saw everyone cutting hair and all, there was that warmth that you feel in this shop. It's not just I'm here to cut my hair. I don't. Yes, it's about precision, yada yada yada. But like in the kitchen, like professional chefs, we have the precision. But if you have precision without heart, you can feel it in the food. You can feel the energy in the food. You can feel everything. I should just come here and do the podcast while cutting my hair, right? Get you guys to cut my hair. Let's go back to what were you doing before the barber shop, and what was the inspiration to become barbers, and how do you guys grow up?
Yeah. I went to school for information systems. So I'm an IT guy. I was managing IT projects.
Right.
I was a requirement analyst and, did like project management style stuff, running like the meetings and everything for the projects. And then, did not like it at all.
Right.
So I had some deep thought and talked to Wendy. I was like, you know what? I used to cut my brother's hair when I was in seventh grade, and I really enjoy it. And I saw one of my friends, they're barbers. Actually, a lot of my friends growing up, they became barbers also, and I saw that they were doing well. I was like, let me give it a shot because I actually enjoy precision and like just working with my hands more. So she said, go ahead, give it a shot. And we went from the bottom up. I worked from every style of shop, got skill sets because I know every shop has something to bring, attributes to bring to the table. And then I took the best of everything and put it all together and, built the shop from there. And just whatever I liked, I go out and still get my haircut. And if I like something, I try to bring it to my shop, and
And Wendy was always
So I was in real estate for many, many, many years. And then we've met each other since college. So we've been friends since college, and then our paths just kind of crossed again, and we got married. And then he was at that time, he was deciding what kind of career path he wanted to take, if he wanted to stick with IT or if he wanted to do something else. With any corporate job, there's always that risk of being laid off or
right.
so that's what happened. And that was kind of the turning point of what he decided. And I was like, you know what, just this is the best time and the only time that you're going to get a chance to really dive deep into something else, because you have the support of a spouse now, right? Like you're not just trying to figure things out on your own, and you may or may not succeed. And then you have to go back to doing what, you learn, you studied or whatever. So the long and short is, I was in real estate at the time. I was able to kind of help support financially. And I continued doing real estate for a long, long time. And I thought, my career was going into like project management or doing investments and stuff like that. But once we opened up the shop here, I couldn't sustain my career. I mean, it was impossible to do two jobs. And so I needed to kind of transition from doing that to helping here at the shop. I'm not a barber. I don't cut, but what what I bring to the table is a lot of the systems and the stuff that I learned doing real estate and just working with people and like a lot of the administrative support that I could give to a barbershop. And I think that's like the difference between starting out, what made our shop so different, because we didn't run it like your typical chop shop. We ran it like it had the backbone of a well-ran corporate business with business sense, but still with the ability to be very authentic to who we were. And also at the same time, allowing him to really kind of branch off and make it what he really wanted, like in terms of his vision, right? We were blending so many different parts of who we were, what our background skill was, what our job skills were, and bringing it all and just kind of dumping it into one place and then just kind of watching it grow.
That was 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago, yeah.
And so you guys were married before the barbershop came
Yeah,
around?
Yes.
we were recently married.
Oh.
We were only married for less than 2 years or 2 years.
I think about 5.
No, we were not. We got married in what, 2012, 11, somewhere around there. I don't remember.
Okay.
We're so bad with
We're
years.
so bad with
We're
years.
really bad with
But
years.
we opened here at 2015. And then we got thrown into like, we're starting a business together and then working side by side each other 7 days a week. I mean,
You were married. You just didn't have a wedding.
yeah, we didn't have a wedding. Yeah, no.
No, we actually did not
we
have a
We
wedding.
did not have a wedding.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to the courthouse and we got married. And then like my parents insisted on throwing like a Chinese like little banquet for us.
That is very Asian though.
They were like,
Yeah.
okay,
It's done.
it's done.
Let's celebrate a little bit. Let's eat.
Just eat. And we're like, okay, let's eat. And then that was it, right? And
Yeah.
then next thing you know, like we have to work with each other 7 days a week. And that was tough because most people don't even want to be around their spouses 5 days a week, And we were open 7 days a week, working all day together.
That is tough.
It was really tough. And
Yeah.
it was really hard for us to separate work from personal life because it was all intertwined.
We're always working.
We're always working. We're
always
always
talking
thinking
about
about
business.
work. Everything is about work. And when you're on vacation, you worry about work, and you worry about the shop and you worry about the business. And then, so everything just kind of for so many years.
Well, I'm so happy for you guys because you don't look worried at all.
We have separation we have separation of the
Or maybe it's the Asian genes, right? Like we don't age until like a certain point and then we become like raisins.
Yeah, we're gonna look like Yoda in one day.
Yeah, one day.
So the relationship came first, then the barbershop. But the question that I want to ask is, did the tattoos come first or the barbershop come first?
I had tattoos. Then I got more tattoos after I came in.
What is this barber and tattoo thing? I'm trying to figure it out. Chefs also do that.
Yeah.
Well, for me, my mom was always like, oh, don't get tattoos because one day if you need to get a job,
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
want people to judge you because you have tattoos. Because, traditionally tattoos were like for criminals or, bad people, right?
Yeah.
That's like my parents' like generation, right? So they were so worried that, I wasn't going to be able to get a job. But then once we opened up our own business, I was like, it.
Yeah.
I'm getting tattooed left and right, Mom. And she was like, well, what happens if you, have to interview for a job? And I was like, then we have bigger things to worry about. That means my business did not succeed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's
I
on my
think with
skin.
autonomy, we know our skill set, and I believe in my skill set and our skill set.
Yeah.
That I don't have to worry about that old school thinking of, what if you have to find a job or anything and they're going to look at you weird because you have tattoos. Well, like she said, we have bigger problems if, we're going for a job
Yeah.
interview now,
Yeah.
so.
And also, like, the more successful you are, the less they worry about what
That
you
is
look
true.
like, right?
That is
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
seriously, if you made those grades or you're going to that college or you're getting that job, like, parents usually won't focus on the little things.
We are not giving anyone like a green light to get tattoos, especially if you're young. Please refer to your parents. I don't want to get in trouble. They'll be like, oh, we heard this on a podcast, ma, so we're getting a tattoo now.
No, you have to be a successful business owner before you can do that. So, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Bring in the moolah, bring in the money, nobody will question you. Let's rewind it even earlier than that. I hear you speak Cantonese,
Yes.
but you speak a little bit more.
A little bit more, yeah.
just out of practice,
Yeah.
And you're first gen immigrant.
I was born in Vietnam.
I was born here, but my parents prefer Chin, but at home we spoke nothing but Cantonese.
Oh, okay. But you don't speak that much.
Not anymore. Out of practice, just
Yeah.
out of practice. And
Like
at
if you
home we
don't,
speak English together. She speaks Cantonese. I speak Cantonese, but I think we only use it in a food setting. You
yeah.
know, like
Or if we have to talk shit about somebody. That's when my Chinese really
Yeah.
gets good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I remember these words now.
Yeah.
It's selective Cantonese. I
Yeah,
think.
it is.
It's like my grandma, who is now very old and hard of hearing. But we go like, no, that lady is sharp as she's not hard of hearing, she's selective hearing. So like when you say something like, like the daily thing or whatever, she go like, huh, or she just ignores you. But if you say like, oh, I want to get a tattoo, she'll definitely hear you. She will definitely hear you all the way from Malaysia.
Rooms.
Yeah.
So you're Chinese-Vietnamese.
Yes.
And then you're Chinese. Which part of China is your parents from?
The South, Guangzhou, and
Okay.
the Hong Kong area.
That's why Cantonese,
Yes,
right?
that's why Cantonese.
Okay. And you actually had parents who were in F&B, right, Tommy?
Yeah. My grandfather came from South America in the 60s, and then he brought everyone else over. He worked at restaurants, and then he started his own, restaurant in Baltimore, the Catonsville area, the Baltimore area.
Yeah.
And then he actually built a really big restaurant in Columbia, Maryland. At the time was called Golden Inn. Right now, after they sold it, it's called Hunan Manor now, but it's a really big restaurant, as in like it has its own parking lot.
And I mean, if it's called Golden Inn or Hunan, I'm sure it's Chinese food that was.
Oh yeah, it was American Chinese food at that time. It was in the 80s, so it wasn't like authentic Chinese food, but we made a living out of it.
And you never wanted to.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I grew up in the restaurant. Literally, I'm that kid that you see in the Chinese restaurant that it's always in the back as you're picking out your carryout. And I grew up in it, and I was peeling big cartons of like snow pea leaves and wrapping wontons and peeling like the big boxes of shrimp. And I didn't get paid until I was in fourth grade. I've been working there since I was little. So working there as a dishwasher in like the fourth grade, fifth grade, and deep frying stuff, and man, it was crazy. I would never want to work. It's so stressful. But the cool thing was my whole family worked there. Everyone worked there. Like 3 generations were working in the restaurant.
How did the decision come about of selling it off?
My grandfather was sick. I feel like old school. I'm not really sure, because I was so young, but I feel like he knew how to run the big system like that because it was such a big system there. And when he passed it, I feel like, it was so many people were specialists in their own department, but I feel like he was the one that could hold it all
oversee it.
together. But yeah, very proud of that. And it was a big accomplishment, especially me having a barbershop and then house, we have a barbershop and it's 7 chairs and I'm stressed with something like at this level. I can't imagine seeing something at his level and doing that in the 80s when a lot of people are against you, especially minorities, So seeing him do that in a well-established community, to do what he did, I'm very proud of him. Yeah. And I didn't realize that till I was running the shop, maybe for about a couple years, and just thinking back how much he actually, accomplished at that time.
Did you have like horror stories of, back in the days where being Asian was something challenging?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird because I grew up in the, Baltimore, area. It's predominantly African American.
Yeah.
And then you hear stories of like, say, you'll hear like, Martin Luther King and stuff. And then everyone's like, yeah, stop being racist. But then like some of the brothers are being racist to you. And you're like, yo, didn't you just say stop being racist? Yeah. I'm the minority of the minority in our community, you're living in a, predominantly white area, but then, it's also a lot of African Americans there. And then you're this super subculture in between everyone. I played sports, so that really helped me out, playing sports and being on the teams. And I was cool with everyone, honestly. Our neighborhood was really cool. So I had a whole bunch of friends.
Because, like, I mean, I am what they call FOB, right? Fresh off the boat. So my conversations with people, Asian Americans all around America, is to like figure out also how America has been, was, is, and is going to be, right? And when I first arrived here, it was during the Biden's administration where DEI was a big, huge thing. As soon as I arrived here, the administration changed. And now there's a big, huge taboo around DEI. I feel that there is a lot of importance in understanding where things come from, to understand where things are, and then only to understand where we can go with it, right? So like when talking to people like yourself, it helps me paint a picture of, oh, how Asian Americans were back in the days, because it also depends on where you are in America. Because I just talked to a chef who grew up in Arkansas,
Wow.
and he had bricks thrown into his house. And I was like, okay, so in Baltimore, yeah, you still get it, but it's not that bad.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's more making fun of you just because you're
Yeah.
different than everyone else. But I feel like, people are always comfortable with their own groups. But, growing up in this area,
There's so many
there's
like
so many different
ethnicities,
cultures.
you
You have to
know?
love every culture because every culture has their food.
Yeah.
And food brings everyone together.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like it's really hard for me to leave, this area because there's so much good food here.
No matter who we are, what we've done in the past, it does shape who we are now. And I think when the first thing that you talked about, like washing dishes, wrapping wonton wrappers, and doing all those, I think it did somehow contributed to your talent of cutting hair, because it's physical, right?
Yeah, it makes me comfortable. That's why I like working with my hands. Cutting hair is tedious, but for some reason it's comfortable for me. Probably, like you said, the way I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Wendy, you were born in Vietnam. Did you grow up in Vietnam some part of your life, or?
I honestly can't remember any of it. So I came over here when I was 3. Actually took a trip back to Vietnam with my family 2 years ago just to see, where we lived, where my grandparents lived, where my parents lived, where I was born.
The chaotic traffic.
Yeah, the motorbikes. Oh my God, so many motorbikes, and just street food and just the hustle and bustle of where I was born, which is at that time Saigon. And then, it was nice to go with family and just kind of see where my roots were. We grew up eating Chinese food at home, but also a lot of Vietnamese food.
Right.
And it was funny because growing up, I didn't know the difference between the names of the food. So I thought I was saying something in Chinese, but it was actually Vietnamese. And so when I would go to the grocery store as an adult, thinking that what I was asking for was actually in Chinese, it wasn't. And nobody understood what I was talking about, right? So for example, I think you'll find this funny. So the pandan, like the kaya?
Yeah, kaya.
Okay, so in Cantonese, growing up, we call it kayang, right? But I thought that was Cantonese. That was, not a Southeast Asian, I
right.
thought all Chinese people ate that, right? So I would go into the grocery store not knowing what the ingredients were, what it was, because my mom would just make it at home.
Yeah.
And nobody understood what I was talking about. So I was like, why is this something that was this something that only my family ate and made up?
Am I a made up Chinese?
Yeah. And then I found friends that were Malaysian, and then I was like, and I was like, oh my God, you eat this too?
Yeah, because it's more Southeast Asian than anything.
And they were like, yeah, you can buy this. You don't have to make it. And I was like, where do you buy it? And they're like, at the Asian grocery store. And then so it was just weird growing up because so much of what I thought was, I didn't notice the difference between being Chinese or Vietnamese because, we spoke Chinese at home too.
Yeah, and I think the one story that you told me when we were just casually talking was about how you met Tommy's family who are Chinese, and you thought you'll be eating the same thing because you're Vietnamese Chinese, and then you realized,
yeah, when we go out to eat, or if we would take them out for Vietnamese food, and they would literally not know, well, what is this? And oh, I thought if I ordered this, it would taste like this, but it's very different, because it's got different spices and just prepared differently. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that, right? I didn't know that it was so foreign to them because I just thought Chinese watercress or morning glory or ong choy or whatever is all the same, right? But I guess if it's prepared differently to different people and they call it something different based on the region that they're from, I just didn't realize how much more Vietnamese my upbringing was than it was Chinese, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And being married, like you guys cook at home?
Yes,
Take turns to
a
cook?
lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you cook as well because you've been in there. So what do you guys eat?
Oh,
My
we
gosh.
we make so much.
Yeah.
Lately I've been into making my own soy milk and tofu. I make my own char siu,
Chassis,
you know, stuff like to chicken wings, to chicken thighs, to the roast pork itself.
Yeah.
I like Japanese curry, so I learned how to make Japanese curry over COVID. And American dishes too, like chili, meatloaf, stir fries. We have our own garden. We're
Yeah.
growing our garden right now.
He does a lot of the grilling and the meats and that kind of stuff. And then typically, especially when we came back from Vietnam, I was like, I'm going to learn how to make all the noodle soups, right? Like the bông bò huê, the bông riu, and all the stuff. We have like different types of cuisine that we cook at home. And then obviously in Northern Virginia, there's a huge Korean population here too, right? So we try to eat or try to make Korean food at home as well. But like he said, we grow a lot of vegetables and we tend to like to grow more Asian vegetables.
Wherever we buy and we could grow at home, we try to at least grow it at home. At least try, you know, and see if it's feasible or not.
Okay, so I got this one question because I'm Fob, right? One thing that I really love, which it's hard to find here, and even if you find here, it's not really good. There's two. One is pandan. Can you grow pandan here?
It's very difficult because pandan grows in like humid, tropical, hot climate. So if you want to look for pandan, which we did last night,
We did it last
we
night.
literally were looking for pandan last night. You can always buy it frozen at H Mart or
Yeah.
okay.
That's what I got.
Even if you grow it, you can only grow it for a short amount of season.
No, we tried. It doesn't grow. It's like it's not dead. It's just there. So the main point of us having you here, we totally forgot about it, is to talk about the Asian festival.
Yeah.
You guys were, I think, one of the champions of Asian festival on Maine, AFM, which is one of the biggest Asian festival in the month of May, which is AAPI month.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
So we are here to talk about it and celebrate it. But before we go to that, we have something called the Sambal Survey. A sambal is a condiment that comes from Malaysia. It's chili. It's something you eat with rice. You can put it on fish. It's condiment, right? So I travel around the world with these three sambals. One made by me, one made by a super successful nasi lemak chain in Malaysia, and then one by a super successful influencer in Malaysia. And I just ask people which is their favorite. Okay, so this is the segment we call the Sambal Survey. Okay, so there is three different sambals that you see there. I would like you to just taste. And this time around, based on the comments before, I have given you a little bit of rice that I've cooked. Just taste one by one. Tell me what you're tasting, which one you prefer, and then at the end of it, choose one of your favorites. Okay. So this is the first one.
That's really good.
Do you guys have something similar in Vietnam?
Not really. No, not really. It's like caramelized onions. It feels like or tastes like, or it has like it's very sweet and tangy. But it's good.
That's
though.
good.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really
I could
good.
probably eat that with everything. No, that's good too.
That's good too. This was more fishy.
Yeah,
but
more
that one's more
fishy, more
caramelized
like-
with onion
Yeah,
and garlicky.
that's good too.
So to be fair, the ingredients that are used to cook these three sambals are not all the same. Sambals can come in different variations. There are some that would put some anchovies in it, and then some they will put dried prawns in it. But the most basic ones are garlic, onion, chili. That's it.
This one's the prawns. They all have three distinct, really good flavors.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what
You're pairing it with.
what you're wanting to eat with.
I could probably eat this one out of a jar with nothing. That's probably my favorite because I tend to like sweet things. And then I actually like in this order, 1, 2, and 3.
Tommy?
I think it depends. I like this one for how savory it is. This one for the fishiness, and the prawns reminds me of like if you want a really strong flavor. I mean, this one's a strong flavor too because of the anchovies, but the prawns remind me of I know it's like the little dry, the anything you need, the little dried shrimp.
Do you guys have this like steamed rice rolls with prawns in them and they put like this chili?
I know what you're talking
I think
about.
that's all.
Yeah, but my grandma used to use it just with the steam egg, like the water, like the steam egg, and she would put that in
More
there.
of this.
Okay, so to find out which sambal that they preferred or which sambal was chosen, please check out the video on Spotify and also YouTube. And also, I just want to remind everyone to share this podcast with everyone that you know. Please leave a comment and also subscribe. It helps us keep this podcast going on and on because at the moment now it's self-funded. So we've got to get numbers there. We've got to spread the word out. And also because the intention of this podcast is to preserve everyone's story. And there's no point of us preserving it if no one's listening to it, right? So subscribe and share, okay? All right, so now we're going to be talking about Asian Festival on Main.
Yes.
Yes.
So tell me about Asian Festival on Main. How did it come about? What is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it started right after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Where we had a lockdown and everybody was just bored out of their minds because there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to see. And I think right around that time, Asians just were not seen in a very good way. Like I felt like I needed to do something. And I didn't know what scale, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I thought, you know what, we had just gotten back from Thailand. And then right after we got back from Thailand, a week after we got back, everything was shut down and we had to go into quarantine. So we had to shut our business down for several months. And it was just scary. And one of the things I really missed about being in Thailand was the night markets, right? Because the experience and just, the people and the food and everything, I really missed that part about travel. And so when I came back and we were going through quarantine, I was thinking to myself, like, why not have something that kind of resembled a Southeast Asian night market, whether it was like Vietnam or Thailand or any of these places. And I was thinking to myself, where my shop is located, there's a lot of Asian businesses in this area, in this small pocket. And I said, wouldn't it be nice if all the Asian community in this area kind of got together and was able to actually showcase and kind of, have an opportunity and a platform to really showcase like their successes, right? There was a lot of, stop Asian hate, Asian this, Asian that. And it was just, everything was so negative, especially about the Asian community in this area. And I just felt like, you know what, why not have something positive come out of this, right? So I talked to my landlords and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe doing something where I bring a couple of different local businesses, Asian-owned businesses, and we have a big parking lot. Maybe we could put some vendors out here. Maybe we could have a night market. Maybe we could have some food. Maybe they could sell some things, really kind of, put a spotlight on the Asian community here in Fairfax City. And they said, you know what? Why just the parking lot? And I said, why not? And then they said, why not make it a city thing?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, hold on. I was just thinking of it in terms of like a scale that I could manage, right? And they were like, no, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
You should pitch this to the mayor and you should pitch this to the entire city. And I was like, oh my God, sure, why not? And that's kind of how it all started, was just this idea that I had that kind of birthed during the pandemic, and it just kind of took its own life and became such a massive festival that, where you are seeing it now in 2025, and it was a chance really for anybody that felt like they didn't, they were never recognized, right, for their hard work. Because you know, Asians are known for having a very strong work ethic. And, a lot of mom and pop shops, they just put their nose to the ground and all they do is work and work and work and work, right? And it was like, well, I want to be able to have the ability to give them a platform to be proud of what they've created, if not for themselves, even for the children that also, or their families, like Tommy was saying, like his whole family worked in that restaurant.
Yeah.
And so you don't know how many generations that particular restaurant or that particular business has had, and never being a chance to even give them a voice in a community that they've served for many, many years was just kind of like, it was baffling for me. So I went around and I started with a list of all my favorite places I like to eat. And that was easy. And then secondly, talked about it from a very personal place, right? Like what it meant to me, why I wanted to do it, and how I thought it would also impact their business, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like they're pulling workers and their time, and it becomes like a financial strain for them, because this is during the pandemic and people didn't have enough workers to keep their doors open. Was really difficult because a lot of people had to be laid off, or restaurants were only open for carry out. So it was very challenging for me to find people that wanted to participate, especially when it was something that had never been done before. But the only way to go in there and to really get people to consider you couldn't do it as a salesperson. You can't throw a pitch out there that seemed very transactional. You had to be very sincere about your intentions. So that's kind of how it started, and it just became huge. Like the first year that we threw it, oh my God, we had 8,000 people. And it was the first festival that really was organized right after the pandemic. So a lot of people were just itching to come out and do something, right? Um, and that's where like Jensen and a bunch of people supported that vision for me. And we were able to carry it through. And then the next year, it just got bigger. It doubled. And then the following year, it tripled. And now we have like 20 something thousand people that come to the festival. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's the ground up it was hard. It
Yeah.
was really
I'm very
hard.
proud of her. It was her passion project. And, and seeing all the Asian hate and all the, honestly, you see people getting beat up, the old people getting beat up. You want to do something for the community, for all the hard workers that, are losing their businesses. The shutdown hurt a lot. And for her to do that during the pandemic, I mean, I'm very proud of her.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly inspiring because, like, I think I connect with what you want to do. It's exactly what I want to do, but in just a different form,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? I think Fairfax is one place, but I think I'm also starting to discover more and more people around America who are doing their own things as well. And I think if we could all come together one day, I would call it like the biggest Asian potluck. I think also there's this calling of us coming together because we're a minority, maybe. Like, you don't feel, someone asked me, like, this AAPI month is only it started in America and it's a very American thing, right? And so I work with the Asian Hustle Network, who actually are trying to start this Asian Heritage Week around the world because they're inspired by AAPI month, and then they go like, why doesn't Australia have AAPI month, or Canada? And so they're trying to spread that. And I said, wait, AAPI, it's because we're a minority. So like we need to celebrate, because if we don't celebrate ourselves, nobody's gonna celebrate us. But when you're in Asia, Asian pride is everywhere, isn't it?
Every day is Asian Pride, right?
But then I think there's a need also because you take things for granted.
Yeah.
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 And what truly is Asian pride? What's the meaning of it? That's your culture? Like, so there is a need for AAPI month everywhere in the world, I feel, but it has to be tuned in a certain way. But for you guys, what is like the hardest thing with this?
When you're coming from the perspective of being a business owner, you're the one who's in the position to call the shots, right? And it's very easy for us to kind of follow through with our vision or make the executive decisions on a lot of things. And to put together something on this scale, you need a lot of help and you need a lot of people that are very Like they have their strengths in terms of how they can help. And letting go of that control factor for me was very difficult because, I would have a certain thing in mind and I would be like, okay, let's do it. Like even as simple as something as like the artwork, I know what I want. And in my business, the only other person I have to consult with is him. But even then, if I want it more than him, he's going to give in, right? Not that way when you're serving on a committee or a board, right? There's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of opinions. There's just a lot of everything. And I wasn't used to that. And I think that was the more exhausting part, was just me figuring out how to work with others on that scale.
And for Tommy, how was it like supporting this?
Well, I told her this is her own project, so I said, I'll help you when you need help, but I wanted her to be, on her own, not on her own, but like,
No, even if she's on her own, she comes back home with all this frustration.
yeah,
Yes.
I dealt with that. Yeah.
He was like, when can
I'm
we
the
stop
support on
eating
that
peanut
side.
butter and jelly sandwiches for like 3 months? He was like, when can we start eating real food at home? And I was
I mean,
like,
it was busy time. It's not natural for her to be an event planner. It's not in her skill set. Yeah, I was very proud of her just putting this together because it's not in her wheelhouse, and working with the whole community, with everyone helping us. It was amazing to see the community come together and see it come together every year.
when you look at it as a whole, you have to look at it from a different perspective, right? If you're only thinking about yourself and you're thinking about how this is going to impact you or how you're struggling with, creating something like this, and you're not looking at the big picture and in a sense, like bringing a community of, people together, and you lose sight so easily and you just focus on the negatives, right? You have to tell yourself, like, get past it, move on.
What's a bigger picture?
And this is the end goal, right? Even though, we're talking about Asian pride here. I had a lot of pride, but, you have to kind of squash that, or at least have the sense of, this is for everyone else. And it's not just for me, because you can get so...
It's not pride that we need to squash, it's ego. Right?
It's ego, exactly. Because, so many people want to come up and tell you, oh my God, thank you so much for putting this together. And it's like, no, like I had an idea, but it took an army to put this together. So I can't sit here and take full credit for this, right? And so you have to make sure like that doesn't get to your head after a certain point. I think we did really well. And I'm so happy that it has kind of taken a life of its own, with more people that are willing to step up and take the reins on this and to see it through year after year after year, because it has only gotten bigger and it has only gotten better.
Okay, we're going to come back to the vision or the legacy that you want with AFM. But Tommy, what is the legacy that you want with this barbershop?
I love the traditional barbershop, and I love that it's a craft shop. Like, we really pride ourselves of being good barbers first, and then having a place where people can escape in real life. And they could see the passion in each of my barbers coming here. I feel like I cultivate skilled barbers that really have, again, the passion to do well, and I feel like when you walk in here, you feel it. And that's what I'm really proud of. That will be my legacy, to make sure that the traditional barbershop, with not in a corporate feeling to it, where it's actually driven by pride. I see a lot of people that just want to make money, and you could feel it. You could walk into a shop and what style barbershop they have by just walking into it.
Yeah.
And I hope that when they walk in here, they could feel like how much we care about making someone else not only look good, but just to feel good, just to escape reality and just to let their hair down, even though we're cutting it off. I can make a living, and Northern Virginia is not cheap, so I'm happy that they come in here, so thank you for everyone,
Yeah.
I think he's not kidding on that, because when you go on their website, they list all the barbers and their jobs, including there is an official greeter and an apprentice greeter, which is their dogs, I think.
I mean, because we're part of people's community, right?
Yeah.
So they come here and it's like a sense of like, okay, this is my second home. I fit this into my schedule. This is a very important part of my lifestyle, right? And I think that's what we're trying to create here, is that we're not just a shop that's transactional between people and, service provider, but that it's become a lifestyle for many people.
And for AFM, what's your dream with it? Where is it going? What's the legacy that you want?
Honestly, I feel like it's fulfilled my legacy, or if you can even say that. I feel like I'm just so proud when I come to the festival, because now I can actually participate as a patron and not actually somebody that has to work the event. And I'm in shock. I look at how big it's become. I hear it in conversations among friends and among strangers, and how excited they get for this festival. And I see the posters that are littered all over like people's windows and, businesses. And I'm just kind of like, wow, this all kind of started with just an idea I had in my head. And now we're like 28,000, people strong.
Wow.
And that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? It's a real festival. It's not some like potluck in my backyard that I decided to throw.
That's what you wanted in the parking lot, and then it blew up.
Because that was originally my idea, was just to keep it small and manageable. But no, I really feel like I'm just so proud of the fact that the city really took to it, and they want to keep it, and they want to keep it growing. And I know some people may think that, festivals can get so big and then it loses its like, the intimacy of like having something small. But I really feel like having it on this scale allows more people to be involved, right? And that's what we want.
So I know that it's not about liking your page or anything. How can we support the barbershop? What can we do to help with the Asian festival?
Come, grab something to eat from all the vendors that you can. Support
Yeah.
the small businesses that come through here. Support the city of Fairfax and all the retailers here, the clothing shop, the restaurants, everyone here. Support my barbers. I'm very proud of my barbers. I love my crew.
So that's the Standard Barbershop in Fairfax, Old Town, and also Asian Festival on Main.
Yes.
We'll put the Instagrams on the video. With that, I thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
This has been an absolute
It was fun.
amazing.
And then next time, come in for your haircut and we can do a podcast with you in the chair.
Yeah, I want to do that. That would be cool. Like while cutting my hair and like tell it like me rambling on my life problems. But yeah, so thank you very much for hosting us and being here and sharing your story. Congratulations on everything that you've done, the barbershop, the festival. But I think most of all, I'm proud of both of you because you guys decided on something and just did it. Whether it was the barbershop, whether it's the festival, it's just that you decided on something and you did it. You took ownership, and I this is Asian pride. When I meet Asian people like you, I feel so proud to be Asian. So thank you very much. And for everyone tuning in, as usual, I will always advise everyone to keep their plates adventurous and their hearts open. This has been The Hungry Immigrant. My name is Abang Brian. Terima kasih and thank you for joining us on yet another episode of The Hungry Immigrant. Just by tuning in, you're already helping us to keep our stories, our flavors, and our heritage alive. But the reality is, our culture is fast disappearing. And when we lose it, we lose a part of who we are. So if this episode resonated with you, I have just one small favor to ask. Hit that subscribe button and share this show. Talk about it with your friends, your family, or anyone who loves food, culture, and the stories that bring us together. Let's keep these traditions alive, not just in history, but in our kitchens, our conversations, and our hearts. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hungry Immigrant and my personal account at Abang Brian for behind-the-scenes moments and extra bites from each episode. I'm Abang Brian, reminding you to always keep your plates adventurous and your hearts open.